Oh, that's a lot better. Hello, everyone. Good to see you here. Hopefully, the first of many Sunday live streams. Hoping to start 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I think what we're looking at today here is, quite honestly, a wonderful situation with Bitcoin. We've hit what I call level three many weeks ago here. Been kind of riding the channel as it is. We'll get into a much deeper dive on that further into the stream. But I just wanted to warm up and tell you guys gonna be start doing something on my own here. This is gonna be my new gig. Right now, I don't have my green screen set up or anything like that, so this is what we're working with. Yeah, so the situation with my channel I'm hoping to accomplish here is get out a little bit of technical analysis, some public news discussion, also whatever might be on my mind about the day, as well as how that integrates with the future of crypto and how crypto will better humanity. So, going forward with today, I just want to keep it relatively simple. Kind of keep things a little bit not too high level, but also accessible and reasonably detailed so that people can further understand what I have to say. So, obviously, we're starting off today looking right at the Bitcoin chart, and this might seem a little bit intimidating to people. So, before I get too in depth here with all my technical indicators that you see present, I just want to inform you that this is, in fact, a paid indicator suite. This is a channel for educational purposes only. We will not be offering any financial products or services here, as this is purely educational and for your entertainment. So, that being said, with my indicator suite of market cipher A, B, SR, which we don't use too often, and DBSI, Um, that's what we use, as well as we use the main trading hub of TradingView where all these indicators sit. So as we're looking at it today, what I use is primarily the A and B indicators with DBSI line. So those are comprised of what you see here on the screen today, with that big long green line underneath everything being your DBSI line. All those colorful ribbons with the candles, that's your EMA ribbons tied into Market Cipher A, which also encompasses those little buttons that you see on top of candles, like the blood diamond or the golden cross, the blue triangle, or even the green dot, or little red X's that also come in different sizes and colors there. They all have certain meanings, all of which you can find off of the Market Cipher website. If you need a referral link, I can give you my link, as well as I can possibly ask around if you require a discount code. So at the moment, I have no codes to give away, but it is something I could look into. And again, this would be on a ad hoc, possibly even future gift, but we'll see when those days come. So, of course, today we're looking here, as I mentioned, at Bitcoin on my chart. And and of course, sorry, I did not mention the bottom section here, which is Market Cipher B. Now, here we have a bunch of different oscillator types reading data in different ways, from the RSI and stochastics and their crossovers to the way momentum through our blue waves works, and the clippings of momentum, lead and following data, as well as we see money flow in the green and red and volume in the yellow. So as you may recall from a previous stream that I tried out on this channel, I did a similar breakdown, but what we're going to try to do different today is show exactly how that can translate not just from crypto, but over to the stock market. A little bit of a different turn than what I've normally done. But we're going to just show you guys that this tool is not necessarily meant for crypto or just crypto. Like it can work for everything: commodities, stocks, futures, indices, just about everything. Which makes it, quite handy to have in your toolkit. So among all those things you could consider like a tuition fee for being in trading in crypto, an indicator suite is typically one of them. Now, there's things like community discords and stuff like that. That's entirely up to you if you wanted to be a part of that. I mean, I'm a part of a couple myself. Uh, there's plenty of paid ones and free ones out there. A lot of free ones I would recommend, uh, filled with amazing people, much like, say, Frankie Candle's Discord, Tom Crown, Jason Casper, lovely people, very good people. Um, but if you wanted to tie yourself into that, you got to realize that in these open panel kind of discussions that are maybe not as thoroughly moderated, that there is the chance for scams to slip through, and you want to be very careful when, of course, you're dealing with anything crypto because of these silly scams. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to jump in and put in all this risk if you're just going to lose it to a filthy little rug pull. I mean, who wants to just jump in with this potentially high benefit only for it to disappear the next day? That's why we got to play our cards right and understand that there's some people out there with malicious intention trying to steal your seed phrase, send out bad EXEs, all that kind of thing. And they just want to essentially take you for what you're worth. So it's not to say that those guys get caught. They do, and they very much get removed from these communities, but it's to be known that it does happen and to protect yourself accordingly. Arm yourself with as much information as possible, and of course, consult financial professionals. Because again, I can't exactly tell you what to do with your money, but I can say that you need to be safe and you need to take care of yourself. That's about as much as I can do. So the rest is on you, of course, to make the right decisions for yourself. So would I can still safely say that there's a lot of good people out in these discords, regardless of any bad actors that attempt to get you to join fake Telegram groups and so on and so forth, just under the guise of encryption, so that they can kind of make you feel like you're in on something. No, you don't want to fall for those traps. Those will get you robbed cold for all your cash. Apologies if you hear a little bit of traffic today. It's a mid Sunday afternoon. Windows are open, but it's a beautiful day to talk crypto. So as I've moved over here in the charts, we were previously on the weekly candle. So let's take a quick look here at what we're seeing on the daily, and then maybe go back to that weekly chart for a quick look. We're going to kind of do things dynamically here. I have no set structure for these Sunday streams, no rundowns, no analyses. We're just going to kind of fly by the seat of our pants, maybe kick it for about a nice half hour. We'll see how long things go. We're going to kind of play it by ear. And yeah, I don't have a lot of flashy intros, friends, but we're going to do it as it is. And I'm just glad to have you here along with me on this ride. So thank you for being here. And with all that being said, let's dive into the data. Here on the daily candles, please keep in mind these candles are Heikin candles. I don't know if you can see it all the way up here as my mouse moves, but this is in fact the Heikin. If we were to flip back to regular candles, you will see something change within the data here, as well as the coloring. Just the positioning of the candles, the representation of price action as such. This is a much more concrete and realistic view of the number data as opposed to what I find more appealing, which is the average candles. Um, you can see a lot more definitive hits on my spider lines as a result of switching back over to the normal candles, as well as action on them EMA ribbons. So when we had this fallout, obviously the price liquidated right down there, but then you can see spindling price action on it as well as a bit of fallout, or what I refer to as liquidity grabs in these kinds of channels. So we obviously had some price action here on what was better or less a bear claw, leading to the inevitable bleed. And then, of course, you got a bit of channel recovery from the value area high and value area low, more to the mid range, and then you kind of got that gravitational push back down as it reached a little too high into the EMA ribbons, which was basically buyer's exhaustion in this case. And then, of course, we have the second hump and then more or less a flat line in between the value area mid and low. So kind of what I'm seeing here today out of these normal candles, if we translate it right back to the Hycans, it looks a lot smoother. And this averaging is mostly what people see and feel in the market. Like obviously these normal candles represent data a hell of a lot better, but this is more or less what people feel and what people base most of their price action and uh, trades and so on accordingly is because you can never really put a pin on the exact dollar of where price is going to go. I don't know where price is going to go. Nobody knows where price is going to go. It just happens. We just interpret it as it comes to us. So that being said, look at this though. Like we've got such an incredible spread on the DBSI daily, such oversold. I've seen this before in terms of like the bull market flipping to the bear market. Whereas let's just go back for a minute here, folks. When we had the massive run up into the 120Ks, we were burning hot. And every time the RSI yoinked its way down below the 50-60, the stochastic would also follow with some weakness. And usually that's kind of like a rubber band effect, not just to price, but to the momentum and money flow. So it was sharp. This one was a sharp one, and it was an indicator that there's some serious profit taking to follow because, well, if it wasn't for a couple special events, we never really would have hit that 120K and reached in the true peak channel because this was essentially the beginning of a bear glove that was effectively invalidated. And the only way we can see that as invalidated was through this more or less massive trigger wave. The stochastic never really let up, so the RSI had no choice but to rebound. The strength was still there. It just wasn't as immediately visible. But the money was there. The money was there, and it just kept coming in and in. And now we're seeing much a representation on this end of it, where the eventually the floor falls out from underneath. You keep jumping up and down, eventually the floor is going to fall beneath you. And that's exactly what happened here. And as soon as the RSI pulls the stochastic below the 50-60, it's incredibly tough, inclusive of red money flow, incredibly tough for it to flip back up and over. So we start to see this reverb over into what is visibly oversold, but still technically not, as this is largely just a short term happening. So let's replicate that, but more so from a bearish gone bullish. So what we're seeing here in at least two cases on these drops is the first one, we had the drop with some exhaustion, but it was still very, very strong, still a very, very strong pull. It was essentially a dropout, a flat line. The market was waiting to see what would happen. There were a couple of people that were a little bit excited, join in on the hype, and these people, this is a large amount of people, and we know that they're out there. We know that you're in this stream too. I was there myself once in the previous bull, and so on and so forth, where you just keep buying in. You think it's dropped, you buy either here, here, or here, thinking it's recovered past that, maybe even a fancy little cup and handle to save your day, but no, she just keeps dropping. So and it's special circumstances like this where you want to consider more or less a dollar cost average buy-in in these kinds of markets, especially when they drop in like 1, 2, 3 kind of levels. But yeah, back to the RSI kind of situation here. We've seen the spread. It exhausted itself. It tightened up and it reverbed, and then it's kind of flipping its direction more or less. And we're seeing still a lot of outbound money flow, but the curvature, the fact that we're seeing so much in and out, and in and out, in conjunction with all these major world events and so on, like it's actually wild what we've got going on here. Um, so again, we're seeing much more exhaustion, but this is way more defined than the previous reverberation back here. Here we had this where it launched us up, and then here we have it again where it's basically pre-primed. We have ourselves rising momentum, and it appears to be launching itself. It really does. The stochastic has cleared highs, local highs for itself, and it seems to be right on the precipice of being able to recreate what it did for at least this bear glove. Now, where would I aim for price action to be? It would more likely test the price range here between roughly 68K and 65, kind of where we're at now, 65, 68. Next level we're looking at is about 68. roughly before we cross up to where the new setting of this current spider line is. Because keep in mind, these spider lines are here for a reason, all drawn up from the past. And these spider lines, as much as they are magnets for price action, there's stuff that happens in between that you need to be observant about. And what I'm seeing here today is like if we were to even have like another bear glove and drop, which I don't think we will, um, like will we actually drop below? I don't think so. Like I said, when we're gonna come back to the weekly, and this is it right here. And the the only absolute root and dead end of this bear market would be as low as 46, 45K. Like if we were to have another substantial drop, that would be the final bit of it. But we've exhausted so much momentum. The only thing that really has me concerned for continued bear market and erosion of trust in the market is due to the fact that we still haven't bled out. Like all those reverberations and kind of signals of potential turnaround in the daily RSI stochastics is really not being held up by the fact that the RSI stochastic has barely turned oversold in this bear market, and we haven't experienced enough red long-term money flow out. We are seeing a shift in momentum, which can be a sign for a potential flip earlier than ever expected, earlier than ever seen in a bear market, and with less pain. Because lately, like the last three bears have been quite substantial in profit taking. But we are seeing a lot of nation states and organizations and institutions buy in, so that could be offsetting a lot of what we're seeing here today. But all in all, what I'm feeling today is that's just another day on a good sale. I mean, look how far we've come down. Like, let me just take the ruler here for a bit. This isn't exactly an accurate representation, but we're going to grab from the toppiest top of this candle, the down candle, and then we're going to kind of go just to this level here. Nice 300 days setting, and we're looking at a basically 50% discount. So, sure, Bitcoin could very well go down again. I'd be happy to see it like that. But come on, you can't deny that even now it's a steal. It's a sale day. And so what if it gets a little cheaper? Those kinds of things happen. So, okay, boys, let's look at something else here. We've done a bit of Bitcoin, we've talked a bit of life, we've gone over kind of how I'm going to do my streams going forward. The news, we're going to pick up some news articles to talk about. At the moment, nothing live, just off the top of my head. I can say, like, with all that uh, Hormuz Strait and the oil development, like I've been watching that closely because that's a serious economic driver. Is that like the way commodities have been reacting in conjunction with that, like to offset the overall cost of oil and so on? Like these companies, they gotta spend a little bit more, so they gotta get a little bit more from us. And what I'm seeing balance out right now is unironically grocery prices and the whole thing about soybeans, following soybeans, understanding what goes on with that, which let's just take a look at that right now for the sake of it. Soybean. If we can get it to work. There we go. Soybeans. CFD. I don't think this is it. Real time market closed. Nope, this is not it. If anyone has a thing for soybeans, pass it my way. But basically, what we're looking at here is let's just go all the way up to commodities. SPX, US oil. That's what we were talking about to begin with. So, anyways, as much as we've quote unquote flattened out and we're kind of dealing with the insane volatility of the reopen, um, it's just not looking like it should. It's just not looking like it should. There's just way too much volatility, and it's about as stable as prices will ever get in our lifetime. Um, that 2020 crash was insane, folks. Oil actually broke. The market for oil actually broke. Let's never forget that. And well, we're gonna be basically going in between. I don't think oil could get into the 40s. There's just too much going on in the world, especially with the potential release of so many barrels to well, that would lower the price. But yeah. So um, let's get back into Bitcoin here. Take a little dive. Take a little turn around. Take a look at chat. I have not seen much in chat. How is chat doing? Hello. Good to see you here. Oh yeah, one very important factor to reconsider here as well, when looking at the Bitcoin chart, is the monthly. We still have not produced our monthly green dot. So that bleed out that I kind of alluded to out of our weekly, that will push the momentum right to where we need, which is more or less this bottom, what do you call that? The bottom 50 line right there. We just need to hit that, lick it, and then be on our way back up. Um, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say what could really happen here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, a lot of what you're seeing on the daily is gathered from the monthly here, and the fact that we're likely turning around, and there's a lot of interest in that, in gathering of extra satoshis. On the 4 hour, you can very much see the redirection, and it feels like it's already taking off. So could we ride up to 68K real soon? It's a good chance. But with the social media hype around 67 or 67 for that matter, 67K would honestly be a psychological point for some. A nice quick jump from here, just quick few percent ladder hit, and then maybe you get 68.3, 68.5, and then straight off to the next spider line for eventually a liquidation and retest, the liquidation retest at probably 72K, and then it would come right back down. That's my bullish scenario. My bearish scenario would be just a complete fallout of the floor where we come down, retest this spider line, lick, and then go down for another level check, and then the floor is finally out from under us, is what I would see. We get that final capitulation as low as, and I would hope no more than 54K. And beyond that, like, it just doesn't seem realistic for anything below that. My worst case scenario is mid 40s, um, with 35K being the true Bitcoin is dead thing. But I highly doubt it. Bitcoin's never going to die. So, friends, we're coming up on about, what is it here? We're coming up on 25 minutes. It's been a pleasure. I haven't gotten into Ethereum, Cardano, or Cronos yet. It's just been kind of me being me, but we'll make this quick and then we'll kind of hop into some other alts. And then I will be on my way for the day. So, yeah, we'll do these streams about 30 minutes an hour every Sunday at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard. And we'll call it, well, there's no name for it yet. There's no name for it yet. We'll just call it Sundays with Darkcrash for now, or something to that extent. The video titles may even change every Sunday. Who knows? It'll be entirely based on what's going on. And I think that's the beautiful part about it all. As much as this is structured, It's unstructured, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun with it. So I'm glad to have you along for this ride. This is the first of many. Um, okay, so enough about me. Let's look back at this. Let's see, what does my brain say for this? We've looked at the weekly, we've analyzed the monthly, kind of correlated it into the daily. Oh, and one thing I failed to mention, friends, is I may also look to include some audio as well. Like we may have some soft music in the background. I want to keep it all safe and lyric free so that we can have something nice to listen to for everybody that is also royalty free. Um, yeah. So seeing a lot of bear claw style activity with potential turnarounds. Obviously, this is just a liquidity check. Well, from my eyes. um, and friends, we may even have some new indicators to look at in the coming days. Right now, we're just working with Market Cipher A and B and the DBSI, as mentioned. But given that I have the premium excuse me, premium trading view, I can actually access a lot more than just the market cipher and so on and so forth. Um, oh, yeah, I guess one thing I haven't used in a very long time, by the way, is my volume. I haven't used this stuff in quite some time. Let's see what this looks like. We haven't been showing volume levels. That's another thing we can show here, provided it works. She doesn't work today, that's okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, this gives a better representation of volume as well as potential strike areas, like this red line that we were seeing, which is pegged at exactly 65K. So that being said, that would be we're at that critical test point now, and then we would flip to those aforementioned levels possibly. Could happen, could not. Um, let's try to get that volume thing to pop up again. Sometimes she doesn't load very well. So when we see that, we know that it's an error and she's not working. I see our good friend Darren is now live. Darren does things, another wonderful gentleman I've had the pleasure of working with. We'll go hang out and see him in a short bit here, but for now we're just going to continue on with what we've got. Oops. Of course, it loads right when I switch screens. There we are. So it's a bit mucky. You can kind of see where the price action is hidden below this. But there's a huge gap right here, which if we can clear the 78K that I'm referring to, like that's a big jump. Like that's a pretty significant jump up to the 80s. Um, and that's the real test. Like if Bitcoin can actually flip this range and fight back all the nonsense of the economy working against it, I feel like the 80K range, once we flip that in the long run, or even in the short term here, right in front of us, like as long as that 78, 85 kind of $1,000 range, like as soon as that's all cracked and we see ourselves pushing 86 plus, then we got to seriously consider whether or not we're flipping bull, or if we need to pull the plug, because yeah, that's one of the major decision points for me, just due to the significant amount of volume. All right, let's jump into Ethereum. It's been quite some time. Maybe we'll come back to Bitcoin. We've talked a lot about it, but we need to consider Ethereum. So on the weekly here, I have some pre-drawn levels from the past that have been confirmed. Oops, sorry, the volume popped up, friends, but we'll work with it here. Um, as you can see there very briefly, the volume was actually checked and tested by price action, which is awesome. You can also see it relative to the position of other candles and other resistances and so on and so forth. So we've checked these levels and we've checked them twice. And Ethereum has more or less hit the bottom of the bucket. Is this it? Who knows? There's a lot of signals now. Looking back at Bitcoin in this, it just seems to me like it's over. There's a really good chance. Oh, sorry about that, friends. My headset decided to briefly turn off, but we're back. We are back. Okay. So now that we have essentially tested and gone beneath, tested, I call this testing conviction. First, you got testing of the line, and then you break it, and then it's like, oh, what do we do now? The floor is out. We're falling. Um, this is a conviction test. Does it mean it's over? Absolutely not. But here we can see a massive potential divergence. This is something that's got me super excited. At the very least, like I said with Bitcoin, at the very least, we've got something going on. We've got something looking pretty positive here, a little bit of hopium, as they call it. And the next stop for Ethereum after it flips the red line is to more or less go for that 2K psychological range. Plus, there is some decent resistance there, honestly, just because of all that previous price action. But if we look, I would say based on this rush, first we got to have this impending volume curve to flip back north. Once we see any sort of tick up north, or at least retest of this, then I'll know that we have some sort of confirmation uh, that we're pushing through finally for whatever price that we're forming here. And even so, on the daily, like there's a lot of short-term signals here, or not exactly signals, you know what I mean? Indicators that well we're pressing for. And look, even on the daily here, the stochastic has clipped. It's gone above the old 60 line. So to me, this says we've got some time of it playing around up here, especially with this massive money flow. Like this all looks too good. The only thing that's got me super skeptical is the weekly and daily volume is still clipping, curling down. This is indicative of the fact that we're pushing against EMA ribbons, resistance levels in the value area here, and so on. But once we clear all those hurdles, the only way is up. And the next stop is the psychological 2000, followed by my line at 2127. Of course, which after we get out and break this and test above 24.4, more or less 25, then we're practically off to the races with Ethereum. Yeah, of course, there's so many different levels to add and look at and consider, but to keep it kind of all compiled in a little nutshell here, we're looking at playing in the 2000s practically until I think the end of the year. Should we see 3000 before 2027? Anything can happen. I don't think it will. At least not until like January, February. It's my feeling. I don't, I don't know. I'm not too sure about a Santa rally. We might see some alts pop off. Bitcoin might jump 10, 20% just to make people all surprised. But you know, anything can happen, as I so preach. So let's take a quick look at Cardano and Cronos, and then we will see what we've got left for time today. Cardano still working against the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Looking a little messy. Not the best chart, but we work with it. So we're very, very red. The underlying use case of Cardano is still there. It could still theoretically be considered in the buy zone according to the technicals of TradingView. That being said, let's look over at 2024. Yeah, there's a lot more on that end. But there's a lot of turnover. Year to date, Cardano down 40%. In the last year alone, 74%. So at a much bigger discount than Bitcoin. So if you have conviction in the Cardano project, you believe in it, I personally think It's in a wonderful state to accumulate some, but this is entirely up to you. You should be making decisions based on your own research. You should consult a financial professional accordingly. So we've obviously leveled down. Is it bucketing by chance? Do you think it could possibly be forming a cup and handle? It doesn't look like it to me. Honestly, this is an inverse bear glove. We could revert and hit a quarter, but we're sitting at 19.9, basically 20 cents. To get that extra nickel, I feel like what would have to happen is a little bit more clarity. Now, this is where we get into a touch of news. The Clarity Act is still not dead, but still not here. So we're fighting that, and once we clear those final hurdles, um, I mean, we got to look at what Russia's done. They're legalizing Bitcoin for trade and so on and so forth. Iran's already dealing with it. Not to say that it's just competing sides of the world and social forces that are the ultimate motivating factor for this, but it's the whole um, national security, accumulation of wealth, and monetary power, spending power on society that we're just trying to maintain. Um, so once all those checks and balances are in, we should see a lot of these indicators line up with the macroeconomic and world events to essentially bring us to these desired levels. The markets go bullish, rates come down, um, and yeah, the money printer goes burr. Can't forget about that. Um, Maybe we need one more black swan to ultimately say, hey, we need to do something about the liquidity in the markets. But there's just I don't see that happening. Like I don't think there's going to be any sort of big bailouts ever. Like 2008 was pretty critical for that kind of thing. But yeah, we're flagging out here on Cardano. Uh, it could very well pop back up to 21 and higher, but it would measure out maybe at 22.5 at the best in the short term here. But Cardano's still bleeding pretty heavy. Every time it gets green, it bleeds right back out. Um, but it doesn't bleed out as heavily. So it's kind of bottomed out for the most of summer. I don't think the summer lull is over. I think we still got to bleed into September, October before we see any kind of hint of turnaround. There will be alts that I think pop off in October, spooky October as they call it. You'll see a lot of shock drops, but also a lot of pop offs, much like how Zcash is doing out throughout the year, but with these guys. So with Cardano covered here, very quickly for that matter, let's jump over to Cronos, my favorite token. It is in the gutter, absolutely in the gutter. It is below its bear market low at this point, even today as we speak. Like this is very interesting as a matter of fact. The floor in the last few days has actually fallen out of Cronos, so this is something serious to take into account, especially for me. Does this mean I am done and I should sell my bags and walk away? Maybe. I mean, look, it's literally at its cheapest price right now. But I don't think we're done yet. As far as this last spike down goes, I don't think we're done yet. Yeah, there's just too much indecisiveness here. This is all crammed together. It looks like garbage. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. Yeah. A whole lot of strength pushing it down. Not a lot bringing it up. And anytime you see some sort of quote unquote turnaround, that's just the seller probably off for the weekend. Not doing any short selling. So looking very dismal here. Not seeing a whole lot of hope here. Next target below, like it's in a complete price discovery, but in the south direction. So we have absolutely zero clue where this could go. But if I was to say where it could go, current price says it's there, and we can understand why it would rest there based on these previous price levels. Yeah. This is all the way back in 2019 and 2020, where Cronos was just a few cents. Could we see a 2 cent or even a 1 cent chrono? It could happen. You never know. This exchange token has had its worth. Um, it's still very much a prominent organization. They're still doing okay. They've got their revenue streams, but they really got to turn around. They've done a lot trying to get buildings, organizations bought up, but they really got to turn around. Not looking too pretty. They got to show face. Looking pretty dismal. Flatlined RSI and stochastic. Money flow falling out. And this is also in conjunction with the fallout from the see, the fallout from the crypto.com termination of the deal. Usually that's a bad thing, but that just means necessarily that like how do I say this? Those types of stories don't really do too much except for short-term kind of crashing. So this is more or less just Trump and media company not being too happy with what was on the table, and they go back to the drawing board. And on the short term, it looks like he's pulling out, doesn't like the company, and would practically be done with this all and throw it in the trash. But I don't see that as happening in this circumstance here. It's just a little too seemingly suspicious that it was just a chance to possibly get some tokens lower, either for the organization or otherwise, to possibly put Kronos leverage a bit lower than Trump Media Corp leverage because they want a bit more bargaining power. And this is just a fancy way to say market manipulation, as I would like to call it. So yeah, we've been going live here for about 42 minutes. I hope you all are doing okay. I saw that we've had a few viewers come and go, so I want to thank you all. Every single one counts. Thank you. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Very important. So yeah, that is the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cronos, and of course Cardano report for the day. It's been a while. It's honestly been a long time. Haven't done its Sunday streams with the Billy Goat Tales team as it was converted. And I am just excited for whatever comes forward with the team, as well as with what I've got going on here on the Darkcrash channel. I don't know what my days will look like going forward, but I know I want you there with me. And I am extremely thankful to have you as my viewers. So, that being said, let's just take one final look at the old Bitcoin before we kind of head our way out here. All right. Let's look at some key facts. BTC USD call skew, 4 billion buffer. So yeah, about 67K. Makes a lot of sense in conjunction with our technicals. So this is it. There's a lot of institutional movement in it, right? And we always praise that, talk about it so much, but it's not like it's becoming stale. It's just like it's become kind of normal. So these events, as market moving as they are, like the fact that they're finally normal, kind of makes you want to think, where else should I look? Because you never know where else the next market mover is going to come from. Could be external to crypto as well. So that's also something to consider. So yeah, there's been a lot of active shorts, but I think we're finally about to break through this and break free, as they say. One last look. I love the 24-minute charts, friend. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's get rid of this garbage here. These are session-based windows, section-based volume checks, as I call it. Uh, and I believe it is this one, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, up and down. Okay. Okay, so we're looking here, and we've got ourselves not the best situation on the 24-minute short term, but we have a tight little trigger wave on this flag, which has indicated that it would like to at least price check the top of the range, which it has done. It did not lick to a new high or show form, excuse me, above the volume area. So there doesn't seem to be any chance of support forming here. It just seems to be that the liquidity has been eaten up at the top of the range and we are being averaged out and dropped back down, which pretty common in these kind of short-term flags. Unless, of course, it is also a pretext to what happened back here. So obviously you got another kind of up motion, and then it rebalances, rechecks, flips. You got the up motion, rebalances, rechecks. And I don't think that would necessarily be a be all end all um, to saying that we are going to go up again, especially with that trigger wave. But like, we're kind of 50-50 here, folks. It's kind of the end of the weekly hockey stick, as I like to call it. You got the hockey stick right here in the blade. You got another one here. um, this is the time when you really got to say what's happening next. You got to ask yourself if you're ready to buy in. Is this the time? Or if you want to set yourself up with some short options and so on. So be careful out there. Do your research. I think we're going to wrap it up here in a minute, folks. It's been a long stream, long going. We're going to do as many of these as possible every single Sunday, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard, 2 p.m. Pacific, excuse me. What does this work out to? 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's right. So we'll do the best to be as consistent for you guys. I cannot guarantee an accurate start time of 3 p.m., but I will make it as close to as possible, as often as possible. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. My name is Darkcrash. I thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you all in the next stream. Bye for now.